Okay, so I had a chance to meet with a friend of mine, Craig. And as I had promised in upcoming episodes that we'd be, or the series in the episode, I'd be interviewing people from various different backgrounds, walks of life, every ethnicity I can find to get an understanding or find out what their views were on policing. This is my first one, so I hope that you find it interesting as well. You're a trainer with a large organization.
Correct.
We've said that this is Craig. Um, Tell me just a couple seconds about you. You're from Oklahoma, right?
Oklahoma. Moved to Texas about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Worked for NCR as a lead trainer,
Hmm.
and now I'm working for another major company here in Dallas.
Okay. And what's your title?
Senior lead trainer.
Okay. Okay. So, how do you think the role of technology has influenced law enforcement practices and interactions within the community?
I think it has helped quite a bit. It's helped the police officer do his job investigating.
Hmm.
I think it's helped them put the right person in jail, the guilty party in jail.
Yeah.
I think it's helped him and her both do their job better, more efficiently, and I also think it's kept them safe in a lot of areas as well.
That's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, it is.
All right. Can you share, and I love that story. You can tell I'm skipping around. Can you share any personal experiences or encounters with law enforcement that have shaped your views on police?
Yes. So back in my early days, I was in a band,
Uh huh.
and in this band, I would frequently wear a blue do-rag on my head. And I was living in Tulsa at the time, and in the southeast part of Tulsa, there was a gang feud going on between the Crips and the Bloods. I was wearing a blue do-rag at the time, and I was speeding down Peoria, and I got pulled over by a police officer who noticed my blue do-rag and asked me a few questions and asked me if I had drugs in the car. I said no, and he asked me to step out of the car. And I was, a little agitated at first and nervous. And he explained to me why he pulled me out of the car. But while he was explaining to me, he was taking me back to the back of the end of the car, and he handcuffed me.
What did you think?
And I said, all I was doing was speeding. And I said, I said, officer, why are the handcuffs on me? He said, well, we've had a lot of gang activity between the Crips and the Bloods here, and you're wearing a blue bandana. I said, yeah, but I'm white. And he said, we can, and he kind of chuckled, and he said, yeah, that's true, but, their recruiting is going outside of their own, so we have to be mindful of what's going on.
Yeah.
And he was very, very nice. He was very patient with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he could have put me in a squad car and take me downtown for questioning. And my response would have been, he's doing his job.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a little inconvenienced, but I was breaking the law. I was speeding.
Yeah.
And so, I got in my car. He gave me the ticket for speeding, but he was very nice. He was patient. He was not rough. He was not belligerent.
Yeah.
And he didn't know me from Adam.
He's just doing his
he
job.
was just doing his job.
Okay.
So, yeah, I had a lot of respect after that.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, what do you think are the most effective ways for police officers to build positive relationships and trust with community members?
respect, just respect when they're pulling someone over for a traffic
Yeah.
stop. Respect that that driver is a citizen. Respect that you don't know what kind of day that person's had, and yeah, he may have been going 20 miles over the speed limit, but you still can show some respect the fact that he is a citizen. I think that goes a long way with relationships between. He has every right to be upset going 20 miles over the speed limit.
Yes.
Okay, he has every right to be mad, but it does take a lot of patience and perseverance and grace to be cordial,
Okay.
and not equate the speeding to a homicide,
Okay.
a murderer.
Yes.
And I will be honest. There was a couple. There was a time where I've run into officers lumping everybody. You do a crime, you're just as guilty as everybody else. And I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. But that's not going to help relations.
True.
So I would say respect, and that goes to the citizen as well. To have respect for the peace officer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So let me ask you this: from your perspective, what role should community policing initiatives play in improving police community relations? And community policing is just getting out. If you can remember the old time cop, getting out and knowing the people who are on your
Yeah.
beat and interacting
Yeah,
with them.
and that's one of the things that I will say that is great. I live in Aubrey, Texas, and every second or third Saturday of the month, the police and the fire department are there at the Commons,
Okay.
and they have stuff for the kids. The kids can sit in the fire truck, and kids can sit in the squad car.
Yeah, yeah.
They can blow the siren, and the police officers and the firemen, they all get to know the community.
That's a good way to go.
It is. It's great. They have a food truck out there, and it's always packed. They got stuff for the kids, but it is a well attended event by the community.
Okay.
And we love it. I mean, it's really really cool that what they do that, and I think that is a big help.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Let me ask you this. What steps do you believe are necessary to enhance transparency and accountability in police departments?
Well, I think the cameras, I think, that's probably the biggest.
Technology has really helped us in that. respect.
Yeah, and I think the cameras are a two-way street. It helps the officer and shows the community that, hey, you know what, it's not always our fault, and
Exactly.
and we do try to be patient with everybody, and you can see it here. The officer exhibited patience and grace, and a lot of times mercy.
Yes.
And so I think that's one way, and it also shows how belligerent a citizen can be.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of times that doesn't get noticed.
Absolutely. And conversely, if the officer is belligerent, we're going to know it by looking at that video.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And hold them accountable.
That's right.
What are your views on the current state of police reform efforts to push for changes in policing practices? And I think the last time you and I talked about that, you said, John, that's your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I really don't know a whole bunch about it,
yeah.
but we've had a lot of discussions.
We
on
have.
it. Yeah.
We
And so
have.
it's always been interesting.
It has.
And
I
then-
think those reforms, like I said, those reforms will show in the street.
Yes.
And if they're not, then you need to take a look at your reform
Absolutely.
curriculum and find out what's not clicking.
Yeah. Okay. And your ideal vision of policing, what do you believe would be the key priorities and values that guide law enforcement practices?
I would have to say the safety of the innocent above all else. And I know a lot of times it's hard. A lot of times policemen are driving up and there's an argument going on, or
Yeah.
they both got weapons.
Yes.
You don't know who the innocent party is.
Yeah.
Well, you do know the innocent party. It's the It's the people that are not involved in the fight.
Yes.
But there's a lot of times where you don't know who the guilty party is and who the innocent party is.
True.
And it takes a lot of patience and a lot of talking to find out who that is.
And it's interesting you say that because now with the technology in a lot of police academies, they have scenario training where that encounter is recorded between the police cadet and the mock actor, just so that we can see what did we do right here and what could we have
That's awesome.
improved in.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And that kind of stuff should never cease in the
absolutely.
in the police
Yeah,
department.
I agree.
That kind of training needs to go on all the time.
Yeah,
I mean, for both safety of the innocent and the police officer.
absolutely.
So,
All right. Well, Craig, I want to tell you thank you. We had some to our audience. We had some issues with the earlier recording, but I think this is just as good.
all right. Very good.
Okay, so I hope that you found that interview to be, that conversation to be good, interesting, thought-provoking. I am so glad to be back on this channel, and I'm looking forward to more conversations like that one on so many different levels, so many different topics. See you on the next one.